I'm gonna smash your boy, guys. I'm gonna tell you much.
Y'all must have forgot. Gotta be very careful.
海賊王になるのは俺だ!
Hey y'all, welcome back to Never Bored with George. I'm your host George, and today I'll be giving you my review and reaction for the newest movie in the MCU, Doctor Strange: The Multiverse of Madness. I'm gonna give you guys my non-spoiler version of my thoughts first. Gonna give you some basic points of non-spoiler stuff, and then guys, as we get through the review, I'll mark a spoiler section because we can't not talk about all the craziness, all the crazy cameos, all the epicness that came from this movie. So guys, just long story short, first section's gonna be non-spoiler, general basic thoughts, maybe a couple of bullet points, but the second part of the video is going to contain spoilers for the big juicy stuff, the discussion about the cameos and all the craziness that we experienced in this movie. But without further ado, let's start off the non-spoiler section for my review of Doctor Strange: The Multiverse of Madness. So since this is the non-spoiler section, I'm just going to give you my overall thoughts on some of the things I loved about this movie without going into the nitty-gritty or giving big spoilers about it. And one of the things I loved about this movie are the characters. Now, the 5 characters we follow in this movie are Doctor Strange, Wong, Christine Palmer, Wanda, and last but not least, the newest character and one of the big entries in the MCU would be America Chavez. Ooh, let's just go from start. Guys, I honestly love Doctor Strange in this movie as well. I mean, not to go into too much spoilers, but he really gets pushed emotionally, philosophically, as well as even physically with all the crazy challenges that comes out from this movie, right? And we see a lot of growth in Doctor Strange from this movie, not even just on a character level, but also on a skill level as well. We saw him do a lot of crazy new spells in this movie. Like, I know from the earlier movies, we saw the Crimson Bands of Citronach and a lot of other magical items. Even the original Eye of Agamotto was just was a time stone sword in there. But even then, Doctor Strange used all the magic that he had, just up to the point we saw from Infinity War Endgame, right? He had a lot of magic in his arsenal, a lot of tools he already learned as a Sorcerer Supreme. But now, even though he isn't a Sorcerer Supreme now in this movie, right, he still is pulling out some of the most crazy ace magic I've ever seen, bro. I mean, ooh, so good. I mean, honestly, like, you won't be disappointed with how Doctor Strange turned this movie. Also, Wong is a great character in this movie too. I thought in the first movie, the Beyonce joke was just a little, all right, fine, a cultural relevance joke, whatever. But I think he's a much better character than that, for him just to use his one-liners and just comedic relief. And I think they did a great job of adopting and elevating Wong's character in this movie as well. He does a great job as serving as someone who's trying to do good, even though he's not the all-powerful version of the Doctor Strange. He's still a very good leader in the sense that, like, he's leading all the sanctum, so he still has his place in this movie, and he does a very good job of adding extra, not so much dialogue, but building up the story on the magic and other aspects of the movie that are kind of that they're introduced in this movie. So Wong does a great job of helping get through the movie, understand all those crazy magical stuff, as well as serving as a key fulcrum for the plot as well. Honestly, one of the MVPs from this movie is definitely America Chavez. From the moment we see her, it feels like she does belong in this universe. A lot of these new characters that they have in the Marvel comics, like America Chavez is a relatively new character in the grand scheme. A lot of the comic characters we're seeing in the MCU, but with a lot of these new characters, I felt like that they're more, when they're written in the comic book, sometimes they're there for more of a message instead of there being a character to develop and interact in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And what I loved about this movie is that America Chavez isn't just a token character. She really has function in this movie. She's so central for this movie, and I really liked her dynamic with Doctor Strange because it kind of gives you that reminiscent of Tony and Peter, their relationship that they had in the earlier MCU movie. But also, she acts as a great companion and guide. I don't even say guide is the right word, but a great tag-along partner for Doctor Strange and the adventures that they go together in this movie. And I must say, she does a great job of not just delivering good exposition, but also she doesn't feel forced ultimately, right? That's what I really don't like about sometimes of these movies, is that, like, sometimes they'll put in characters just for the sake of them being forced, and she does not feel like a forced entry into the MCU. In fact, she feels like a great, I dare to say she fits perfectly with this movie, because not only does her power and skill set reflect what the movie needs, but also, like, as a character, what she's been through and how she can relate to Strange. Overall, I gotta say, America Chavez really was a surprise for me in terms of what I really loved about this movie. Super solid overall. And also, Christine Palmer makes a reappearance in this movie. I really loved her in the last movie, but as you see from this movie, they take a lot of changes with her in this movie, so just be prepared for that. And finally, Wanda. His Multiverse of Madness should just really be Wanda's Multiverse of Madness. As much as it's called Doctor Strange, it's basically a Wanda Maximoff movie. Marvel's hitting a home run again, because Elizabeth Olsen, when she plays Wanda Maximoff in this movie, guys, she definitely brings in the heat when she is the Scarlet Witch. They really did such a great job of grabbing some of the past stuff from WandaVision, those ideas that we had, and bring them into the MCU right now. Wanda is basically MVP of this movie. I want to go into more of details about her character, but let's just say there's Wanda Maximoff and there's a Scarlet Witch, and throughout the MCU, they don't really establish that. And even at the end of WandaVision, she has her final moment where she's, she's the Scarlet Witch. But honestly, it's this movie where she really brings the Scarlet to the Witch. Without turning into spoilers territory, right? Guys, let's just say that for these characters that we see in this movie, they do a great job of really pushing the sales of this movie. And for the ideas that discuss the complexity, all of it's super great. And honestly, in terms of the characters, you can't go wrong with this movie. Another thing I really like to highlight is the GOAT, Sam Raimi, from as soon as the movie starts, that this is not just your regular old, vanilla Marvel Cinematic Universe movie. Sam Raimi's style really is on every frame, every shot of this movie has that Sam Raimi signature on it. We already know Sam Raimi is the god of transitions, and this doesn't change here. Some of the transitions that he does in this movie on a technical level was like, I didn't expect it to transition from this scene to this scene the way you did it, but he did it so well. If you're a film nerd, I think you'll really like how he approached this movie as well. And oh my god, the movie has so much character on its own too. And then I think with Sam Raimi behind the wheel and him, being able to be himself behind the camera really brings this movie's personality forward, right? It's so great to see a director being able to really have control and creative choices in the room when it comes to these Marvel Cinematic Universe movies, because I know sometimes that they'll say all that creativity is there, but then when the product comes out, it doesn't really push the limits as what they say they would. Doctor Strange 2 is the exception, because Sam Raimi really puts his character in this movie. You can really feel that the direction style in this movie is very uniform, united, and consistent. And honestly, I love how this movie shot, how they compose themselves from the action sequences, everything. I love it. Sam Raimi definitely should be a mainstay in the MCU. And a side note, I know there was a lot of people, when the movie just came out, right? And there's a lot of reviews are kind of 50-50 on it. They're like, oh, it doesn't really feel like an MCU movie. And the other side that really loves the movie, it's like, yeah, it doesn't really feel like an MCU movie because it's so visually stunning, the story's great, so fast-paced. Honestly, guys, I'm with the latter camp. If y'all really want your typical vanilla skin MCU movies, then by all means, there's a lot of other movies that are there. But if you really, want that vanilla experience of a Marvel movie, this isn't for you, because they do so many leaps and bounds in this movie in terms of the character cameos, how they shot the movie, the creative choices they made to how to drive the plot, and also how it ended too. It feels different from a typical MCU movie. The only thing I'd say it feels the same of is there's the jokes and stuff, but even then I felt like the writing with Sam Raimi behind these jokes too was really good, because it didn't feel like forced pop culture humor. It was really like character driven moment humor in this too. So I love when those moments happen, because those character driven comedic moments add more to the character than them saying like a Fortnite reference or a Beyonce reference. I'm all for how they approach the writing and humor, and how they approach this movie overall as a whole. And overall, guys, to kind of end off my non-spoiler section, honestly, the plot of this movie is great. The characters that are in this movie are great. The cameos are great. The direction style, how it's shot, the action, all of it really hits notes that I didn't expect to come from a sequel from Doctor Strange, if I'm being honest. But honestly, I'm so happy with how this movie turned out. I recommend you go see it as soon as possible, because if you don't, spoilers are going to get you and it's going to suck. But trust me, go see this movie. Definitely worth it. Well, y'all, that concludes my non-spoiler section for Doctor Strange: The Multiverse of Madness. So if you don't want any spoilers, click away now, because the rest of this video is going to be filled with spoilers up until the very end. So if you want to jump around on the sections you don't want to hear, don't want to get spoiled, click on the timestamps below in the description. They will be there for you guys, but everything I'm going to be talking about from this point onward is going to be spoiler filled. So one last time, guys, here's your spoiler warning. All right. All right. Are these the spoiler homies? Are these the degenerate spoilers? The people that like the spoils of war, of MCU, of all the things? Are you a spoiler? Well, guys, this is your section, because we're going to be going in on the craziness that we saw from Doctor Strange 2 and the Multiverse of Madness. So let's kick off the spoiler section, guys. You already know it's the cameos. It's the cameos. And guys, before we get started, let me give you a list of who I thought was going to be in the Multiverse of Madness in terms of cameos, right? And let's see how right or wrong I am. And if you guys comment below what your guys' list were, who you thought was, give me your craziest, prediction of who you thought was going to be in this movie in terms of crazy cameos. Comment below. Let me hear those crazy thoughts. But make sure you mark a spoiler tag if you are going to talk about spoilers, because obviously we won't be assholes in the comment section. I know confirmed there was going to be, we heard Charles Xavier's voice in the trailer. We saw Captain Marvel, and because of the latest marketing drops, we saw Captain Carter, Big L, stinking marketing team at Marvel. I love you guys, but you guys need to stop with the spoiling shit, guys. It takes away half the fun out of it. But aside from that, guys, I'm just gonna kind of read you my list of who I thought was gonna be in this movie, and I'll let you know if I was right or wrong. But to kick off the list, I had a variant Wanda on the list, and I was right ooh-wee. If you know, it's a spoiler section, guys, so I'm sorry, but guess what? Variant Wanda was there. She was the dreamscape stuff. So the dream waking, dream sleeping, I don't know what they call it in the movie, but she was there. So I was right on that. I was wrong that we did not get to see my next pick, Division. We did not see an Iron Man variant either, which was big sad, because they did have the Ultron Initiative project, meaning I think there could have been a room for Iron Man, but I don't know if they could drop that, you know, that money for the Tom Cruise Iron Man cameo. Another cameo I thought they would have, but then was Magneto, because I thought, you know, if they're going to introduce, you know, Professor X, why not bring in Magneto? Wanda's dad, you know, in the comics, her dad was Magneto anyway, why not? I also thought that they were going to bring Kang the Conqueror as well, or you know, Kang, or as Iron Lad as well. That didn't happen either. Big sad, but that's okay. Mephisto, I'm gonna throw that in there. Y'all ruined it since WandaVision, so I had to throw it in there. Just why not throw it as a guess? He wasn't in there. Big sad, but no worries. Nightmare, here's the thing. They technically he wasn't in there, but if you watch the movie, she was kind of functioning as like a waking dream thing. So she technically, the character that is Nightmare in the comic books wasn't in there, but I really thought that they were going to do that. Another oddball I threw out was Deadpool. Again, if you're going to have Professor X, why not? Deadpool was not in there. Punisher, again, I was like, bro, if we're going to start adding in people from different universes or whatever and whatnot, why not bring in our boy Frankie? It is, you know, why not? But I mean, hey, if they were able to bring back Charlie Cox as Daredevil, why couldn't they bring back John Baratheon as Punisher? Because he was amazing. But hey, it is what it is. I also thought they were going to bring in Jean Grey, not as the Phoenix, but just an appearance of Jean Grey because of Professor X. But again, honestly, now I'm thinking about it based on the movie and how Wanda basically, Professor X, maybe it's good that Jean wasn't there, because if anything, that would have been nuts to see. Wolverine, Beast, Colossus, just a couple of other X-Men that I thought were going to be in there, but they didn't show up. I didn't see them, and I don't think they showed up, but yeah, the only other X-Men that I think we saw was Charles Xavier. I got this one right, though, the Living Tribunal. If you saw the America Chavez scene where her and Doctor Strange were jumping through portals to escape Wanda, we saw a glimpse of Living Tribunal. I was right there. Let's go. I was wrong about the Beyonder, though. But again, I thought since these multiverse ass movies are going to be there, they're talking about incursions, I'm thinking Battleworld could be a thing, the Beyonder could appear, but it didn't happen. It's okay. Doctor Doom, no, he didn't appear, but guess what? My next pick was spot on. Kinda. I said a Fantastic Four member was going to appear, and I was right, guys. Ooh. I cannot believe it. Our fan fiction came to life, guys. We got John Krasinski as Mr. Fantastic. So I'm glad I got one right in the chamber, and I'm glad a huge fan casting from way back in the day, made it to today. So that's super great to see that. So I was right on that. So Namor did not make an appearance either, but again, I think they're saving that for Black Panther. I really thought they're going to do a variant Black Panther as well, but didn't work. Another one I got right, though, was the King of the Inhumans, Black Bolt. And not only did they bring him back, not only did they bring Black Bolt in, they brought him back from their attempt at rebooting, not rebooting, but introducing the Inhumans back in like the early 2000s when Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. was around, bricked it up, brought in the guy who played Black Bolt from that series, brought him into the MCU, made him a variant Black Bolt, and on top of that gave him a comic accurate suit. I think that would have been my favorite cameo overall, if I'm being honest, because that was just so, I did not expect in a million years they would bring that. I mean, they said Illuminati, but not in a million years I think they'd bring back the Inhumans, and my God, I love you, Marvel, for doing that, so thank you for bringing in Black Bolt. Another one I predicted, I wasn't too hot on this prediction, but I somehow turned out right, was a variant of Thanos, which we saw they kind of had their own, the Illuminati had their own version of Infinity War, and we did see a variant of Thanos there, so that was crazy to see. I thought they were going to bring in the Watcher, because they did bring in Peggy Carter's Captain America, and I thought, okay, well, I'm sorry, Peggy Carter's Captain Carter, and I thought, well, if they're gonna bring in her, why not bring in the Watcher as well? So I threw it on there. Ultron, not the Ultron Sentries, but actual Ultron as well. I was wrong about that, so I'm taking some L's. A Celestial, I didn't see any references to a Celestial. I guess you want to count the Living Tribunal, but he's kind of bigger than beyond that. I kind of put a Celestial there just to find a way to tie into the Eternals, and my last pick was to name an Eternal, and I guess if you count the Thanos variant, but I'm not gonna count it. So overall, in terms of my predictions, I got, out of my probably like 20 plus picks, I got 5 of them right, so I'm surprised I got some of them right that I did. But yeah, I mean, that was cool. That was a really fun exercise to do, though, just because I was like, I wonder what possibilities they could have. And even though most of my list didn't make it, some of the ones I didn't expect at all to make it were in there too. So honestly, overall, shout out to Multiverse of Madness for bringing those cameos. But guys, that leads me to my next section of this review. Unfortunately, there were some things I wasn't too hot about, but honestly, overall, it doesn't really take away my experience with the movie. If anything, I just wanted maybe more cameos, or for them to apply to the cameos are more permanent, because if you saw this movie, you kind of know that pretty much all these, the Illuminati they introduced in this movie, which I loved, was all mollywopped by Wanda, and not just any Wanda, a Wanda who sent her consciousness to a different variant of herself to then not only defeat these Illuminati members, right, who are the best in the universe, in the multiverse, because that's what they agreed on, they're the best in the multiverse they gathered. But on top of that, this wasn't even her true form. She just took on a variant to take on all these people and deck them all, bro, basically turning Mr. Fantastic into a mozzarella cheese stick, just tearing his ass up, all right, literally. Oh my god, what they did to Captain Carter, oh my god. Oh Jesus, bro, the freaking way she got split in half by the shield was so nuts. That was, I didn't even think they were gonna bring in these characters, these heavy hitter characters or variants of them, only for them to just cap them off like that. Maria Rambeau's Captain Marvel was cool as hell too. I love that all black design, only for her then to then get decked by a statue by Wanda. Big sad. Oh, the final two. These aren't even knocks in the movies per se. It's just that, like, I wish they could have done that a little bit differently, right? They literally killed off some of my two favorite cameos from this. What was it? Professor X and Black Bolt. Oh my God. They showed Black Bolt's power when he basically was just like, I'm sorry, Doctor Strange, and their Doctor Strange killed him. They showed off his power only for Wanda to be like, that doesn't matter, bro. You can't talk unless you got a mouth. And guess what, bro? What that mouth do? Nothing, because it ain't there. And Black Bolt got himself killed. He technically killed himself because he tried to speak. And oh my God, that was, Jesus, bro. Wanda, oh my God. This movie really just does so much to you. And then even finally, they pick the strongest telepathic mind in the world, in the multiverse, which was Professor X, only for Wanda to literally beat him at his own game in his mind. Bro, this movie did so much for me, bro. They brought all these great cameos only for them to kill him off. But honestly, it doesn't even matter that much, because the fact that they brought him in means they can bring them back in again in one way or from. They've already established multiverse. There's a bunch of variants running around of everybody. So honestly, we can get the other John Krasinski, Mr. Fantastic, to come back. We can get an actual, the same Black Bolt or a variant version of him to come back as well, because they've already established that the multiverse is there. I mean, it was just so jarring, though. I mean, if it's not even a criticism, it was just so jarring to bring in these heavy hitter characters, variant versions of these characters, only for them just to be mollywopped by Wanda, which really sets the level of how strong Wanda is. They really set her up to be this unbeatable character in this movie. Doctor Strange: The Multiverse of Madness really does bring the definition of madness to a new level. They elevated the character of Wanda, Doctor Strange, bringing a new character, America Chavez, bringing in these excellent, comic accurately epic cameos. If anything, I just wish it was a little bit longer to bring in more breath to these characters. Especially the cameos. It would be nice to have a little bit more screen time with them, but honestly, other than that, I really love this movie overall. One of the best MC movies I've seen. Sam Raimi really did do such a wonderful job, and shout out to Marvel as well for taking a chance and letting a director direct. It's funny to say that nowadays, but considering a lot of other studios would rather prioritize profit over the fan experience, they really did a good job of creating a very good horror-driven comic book movie experience that does the everything the best, right? It was suspenseful, it was thrilling, it was epic, right? Doctor Strange, these characters aren't poorly written. There ain't too many shitty, cheesy jokes in there. All these characters had something to do. The story did not stop. I did not feel a moment of like breaking it. That's why, if anything, the only criticism I have is give me more of these. Give me more movie for this movie, because if anything, a couple more cameos wouldn't have hurt. I would have been nice to get my list a little bit more right, but that's okay. I really enjoyed the movie overall. I walked out of it a happy customer. So overall, guys, I can't recommend enough. Be sure to see this movie as soon as possible, because the spoilers are rampant. TikTok, YouTube, Twitter, it's all there. The spoilers are rampant, so guys, go see it as soon as possible. But that being said, guys, I'm gonna wrap it up here. Thank you guys for watching another review from Never Bored with George. Guys, if you liked this video, give it a like, subscribe for more MMA content. Got plenty more on the way. Guys, we have more Never Bored Naruto on the way. Jackson, Jason will be back in the studio tomorrow to film more Never Bored Naruto. We're gonna finish part 1 of Naruto, get into shipping it. It's gonna be great. It's gonna be exciting, so stay tuned for that. Plenty more MMA content on the way as well. This weekend, we got UFC 274, so stay tuned for me and Jason's reaction for the main event. Ooh, Charles Oliveira versus Justin Gaethje for the lightweight belt. The co-main event as well, Rose Namajunas versus Carlos Esparza for the strawweight championship belt. And finally, the people's main event, Tony Ferguson, El Kukui versus Michael Chandler. Guys, all those fights are going to be exciting. Can't wait to bring you guys this epic more content from Never Bored with George. So stay tuned for that. Like, subscribe for more MMA, anime, and other content. There's plenty more on the way. Guys, I'm your host, George. I hope you have a good one. Peace.